Nottingham Forest are the visitors to Sheffield United, and Nuno Espirito Santo's side will be targeting what will be 3 priceless points when they travel, as I said, to Sheffield United. They are dangerously close to the drop zone, with just 2 points separating them and second bottom Burnley. Earlier in the week, Howard Webb admitted that Forest should have been awarded a penalty against Everton. If you remember afterwards, Forest issued a statement after that 2-0 defeat to complain about the rejection of what they thought were 3 penalty appeals and asked for the audio of the VAR communication to be released. And it was actually the final penalty involving Ashley Young and Callum Hudson-Odoi that Webb agreed should have been given. And here is how the VAR Stuart Atwell and referee Anthony Taylor at the time decided not to give it.
Now, good. Opening Ward, play on.
Possible offside, possible pen.
Plays the ball.
Checking possible penalty. Stand by.
Looks like he plays the ball.
Okay,
Check.
so
It's coming again.
slowly placing,
Yeah.
because it just comes in shots. Okay, so they come together. There's mutual engagement between them before the playing of the ball, but it's more of a tussle than there's no longer. What I'm seeing here is no clear action by the defender. Tails confirm on-field decision of play on. Check is complete. Both players tussling for the ball. There's a degree of normal contact as they both play the ball in the same space.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is how the VAR saw it and communicated that to Anthony Taylor. As we mentioned, Howard Webb, having gone through those incidents, believed that third penalty should have been awarded, or at least should have forced Anthony Taylor to go to the monitor to look at it. Because if you hear and remember the key line that Anthony Taylor says, and you heard it a few times, plays the ball, which doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And that is why he should have been told to go to the monitor to potentially reverse that decision. I say that now, and I'm kind of leading into this one. That was a penalty for you as well, I assume.
Yeah,
there's no debate.
And I sometimes when I hear the words that are chosen, mutual engagement, I just, come on.
Very formal, isn't it?
Yeah, it just, okay, you could describe it many ways, but I clearly thought on the day that is going to go to the monitor and that will be given. I remember thinking it. Yeah. And there were incidents, obviously, other ones in the game. Handball was one, certainly, that, you could have debated. Yes, I've always had this problem with penalties now, as you know. We've talked about it at length many times. I just feel that I don't know what the penalty will be further down the line, because what does it take to get one? And normally it's very little. And that wasn't a very little incident. That was quite a major one.
Yeah.
That clearly was wrong because, obviously, the player got the ball.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that was obviously a clear and obvious error by not only Anthony Taylor, although...
It's not his fault, is it?
No, from his angle, I guess he's thinking he's played the ball, but why VAR didn't send him to the monitor, obviously, it is something for Howard Webb to discuss with Stuart Atwell. The earlier incidents, by the way, that he referred to that they all agreed weren't penalties was the Gio Reyna one. That was the first one where... Because I was actually part of the PGMOL briefing when they went through this. I tuned in for it. This actually was a private briefing, and then I know they since have to put it out on Sky. Where the first one they said not every contact is a foul, so they deemed that Reyna challenge not impactful for a foul, so therefore not a penalty. And then the handball that you're referring to with Ashley Young, they again said proximity was one of the reasons why they wouldn't have awarded a penalty. And also they felt as though if you look at his momentum, he's put his leg out to kind of block the shot, and his arm naturally will come out because of momentum. That's what they also came to the decision that wouldn't have been a penalty. But certainly there was a third one that they should have given. Nuno Espirito Santo, as you can imagine, has felt vindicated after that statement that they put out. Him and Forest feel as though they are vindicated. I'm not quite sure we could go down that road, because they obviously thought they should have had 3 penalties when in fact the PGMOL. Plus, I think the independent key incident panel, I think they again only deemed one of them a penalty, perhaps.
Well, this is where we're going as well, Nat, because normally, if you go back a few years, we'd be talking about a penalty incident. Yeah. Managers remain. Now managers are saying we should have got a second penalty, or we should have got. Now we're multiplying everything, so it's becoming an even bigger problem, because managers are not just talking about one incident; they're now talking about 2, maybe 3 penalty incidents in every game.
Well, interestingly, one of the news lines to come out of Forest yesterday was that Mark Clattenburg has announced that he has stepped down from his role as a referee consultant at the club. He began working with them earlier this year, and within the statement he said it is clear that the existence and performance of these consultancy services has caused unintended friction between Forest and other participants to the extent that it has become more of a hindrance than a help to Forest. Surprise?
No, not at all. I'm surprised it lasted this long. I just when the appointment was made, I didn't quite understand it, why that would help Forest.
A lot of us weren't sure about it.
No.
Perhaps because we didn't understand the full remit, let's say.
Mark Clattenburg would have nowhere to go because he's employed by Forest. Well, then he would have to defend. And now, obviously, they were major incidences. And then Forest chose to release a statement, how they felt about it. And Clattenburg's in an impossible position. And I don't get how he didn't know this would happen.
Yeah, I think as well for me, we've talked about this countless times about the number of decisions in football and the number of laws that are subjective.
Yeah.
So even if, like, for example, those 3 penalty incidents, we all firmly believe Forest should have had a penalty, without a doubt. There's no doubt about that. But those 2 other incidents are subjective. Yeah. As in, you might think, well, yeah, actually, Young's definitely handballed that.
Yeah.
But I might look at it and go, well, no, I'm bringing proximity into this. I can't see it as a deliberate, I know deliberate not necessarily is always the word that we use nowadays because sometimes that's not part of the law, but I don't see it as a handball incident because of what else is he meant to do with his hand. It's nothing he can do. This is just all the problem with subjectivity. So Mark Clattenburg being employed by Forest, he's only going to give his view on what he thinks it should have happened in the game, but it might well be different to Howard Webb. It might well be different to Stuart Atwell, to Anthony Taylor, to Michael Oliver, whoever it is who's refereeing that game. So you were always going to lead to these moments of, debate. I just didn't see how it was going to ever work, quite like you said.
It nearly feels like it needs lawyers in there. It goes legal on a decision. It's just crazy. And I don't know where this is going to take us because I just see only more problems further down the line. Because, like you said, subjectivity is an issue.
That's the problem with football and the laws.
You can make a case either way.
Yeah.
There's always an example of something.
Yeah, that is the problem.
I don't know how you get out of it.
No, I think within that statement, Clattenburg suggested that there is room for something like this in football as a role at clubs, but perhaps maybe it's too early in its infancy and we're still scratching our heads as to what it all means.
It's obvious what the role for me would be. What if he's coming to a club and he's going to help, you educate the players on the laws of the game, okay? And these are the problems that sometimes referees will look out for. Be wary of that. Don't do these things because obviously you can be penalised. Not just about making tackles and arguing and abuse or whatever, just little intricate things in football he could have played a part in for what a referee and linesman will be looking for. Now, that's a small edge, but it would be worthwhile having someone come into a club to talk to players. And I've always said, I didn't know all the laws of the game and still don't today. I'm not playing now, but I think it's more beneficial now to know way more laws as a player.
I don't also think it helped, and I know we've got to hit a break, but I don't also think it helped he had his column in the Daily Mail.
No, of course it doesn't.
Because, again, that's pushing an agenda that doesn't help Forest, and maybe that's why they've come to this decision that maybe it's best for him to step down from that role. But also, equally, it might have been nice. Yes, you can criticise decisions in the game, but maybe it would have been nice in that role that he came out sometimes with the positives of a refereeing performance within his Nottingham Forest role to sort of say, we were happy with that because of this. And maybe it wouldn't have led to so much friction because we would have seen a balance from that. And unfortunately, we didn't see that, so that has come to an end.
Unfortunately, there was a lot of grievance before them incidents as well. I know, with other incidences, wasn't there?
And look, Forest fans, I'm sure listening in right now will be screaming and saying, look, that's not just that game at Everton or against Everton. Totally understand that, and they have been on the wrong end of a number of decisions. We understand that. But what can you do, unfortunately, other than try and hope that referees learn from these mistakes that might be being made even. But a huge game for them at Sheffield United today, one we will keep you regularly updated on as they look to try and push, or pull away, I should say, from the bottom 3.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.